By mid-2024, China's Chang'e-6 mission quietly accomplished something that stunned the global space community. While NASA was still testing rockets and SpaceX was launching satellites, China had successfully returned the first samples ever collected from the lunar far side. The mission's findings, reported in April 2025, revealed unexpected water content differences in the far side's mantle that challenged existing theories about lunar formation. The numbers from 2025 reveal a shocking truth about who's really winning the space race, and it's not who you think. What did Chang'e discover in those far side samples that has every major space agency scrambling to catch up? The answer lies in data that goes far beyond simple mission success rates. The numbers that changed everything. China's space program funding has grown substantially over the past 5 years, reflecting a strategic commitment that sets it apart from traditional space powers. This investment pattern reveals something more significant than simple budget increases. While NASA's Artemis program has consumed massive resources since 2019, with the first crewed lunar landing now pushed beyond 2025, China has executed multiple successful lunar missions, including the historic far-side sample return, at considerably lower estimated costs than NASA's heavy development budgets. The mission's success rates that emerged from recent reporting tell a compelling story. China's Chang'e program maintains perfect execution across all lunar missions, from the early orbiters to the complex sample return operations. NASA's recent track record shows a different pattern, with the uncrewed Artemis 1 mission experiencing multiple delays and the Space Launch System rocket facing ongoing technical setbacks. The European Space Agency's lunar ambitions remain largely theoretical, while Russia's Luna program struggles with funding constraints and technological hurdles. India's Chang'e missions show promise but operate on a much smaller scale with limited frequency. The timeline acceleration reveals dramatic disparities in operational tempo. China launched Chang'e-6 in 2024, executed a successful far-side sample return, and immediately began preparations for Chang'e-7 and 8 missions scheduled for the coming years. This represents a mission cadence that no other nation can match. The contrast becomes more pronounced when examining the complexity of China's operations versus the delays affecting other space programs. Manufacturing efficiency data shows China producing spacecraft components at significantly lower costs than American equivalents while maintaining comparable quality standards. Chinese space manufacturers delivered the Chang'e-6 orbiter, lander, and sample return capsule as an integrated system that demonstrates remarkable cost-effectiveness. This efficiency extends beyond individual missions to encompass entire program architectures. The personnel deployment statistics paint an equally revealing picture. China's space workforce has expanded substantially, with a significant portion focused specifically on lunar operations. These workers operate across major facilities dedicated to lunar mission development, testing, and control. The concentrated approach creates fundamental differences in operational efficiency and decision-making speed compared to more distributed models used by other space agencies. Launch frequency represents another area where China's systematic approach yields superior results. The Long March 5 rocket, China's heavy-lift vehicle for lunar missions, achieved multiple successful launches compared to limited Space Launch System operations. This ratio reflects not just manufacturing capacity, but also operational readiness and mission planning sophistication. Testing methodologies reveal deeper philosophical differences between space programs. China conducts extensive ground-based testing for every mission component, often spending extensive time in simulation before hardware reaches the launch pad. This methodical approach contrasts with other agencies' tendencies to identify and resolve issues during flight testing. The Chinese approach prioritizes mission success over speed to market, resulting in fewer setbacks but more thorough preparation cycles. International collaboration patterns show China establishing partnerships with multiple nations for lunar research and development. These partnerships operate under bilateral agreements that give China significant control over technology sharing and mission planning. Other space programs include more signatory nations, but many provide limited tangible contributions beyond political support. The quality versus quantity dynamic favors China's approach, with partner nations contributing actual hardware and expertise rather than symbolic endorsements. Resource allocation efficiency becomes apparent when examining how each program distributes funding. China dedicates the majority of its lunar budget to hardware development and mission operations, with smaller portions allocated to research and administration. Other space agencies show different spending patterns with higher administrative overhead and contractor management costs. This allocation difference explains how China accomplishes more with focused resource deployment. The geographic distribution of capabilities tells another story about program structure. China concentrates lunar operations at primary locations including the Wenchang Space Launch Site, the Beijing Aerospace Control Center, and the Xi'an Satellite Control Center. This concentration enables rapid communication and coordinated decision-making. Other space programs operate across multiple centers and contractor facilities, creating communication delays and coordination challenges that impact mission timelines. Supply chain analysis shows China controlling the vast majority of its lunar mission components through domestic manufacturing, compared to much lower domestic content for other space programs. This vertical integration gives China greater control over quality, costs, and delivery schedules while reducing dependency on international suppliers. The strategic advantage becomes clear when geopolitical tensions affect technology transfer and component availability. Innovation speed measurements track how quickly each program incorporates new technologies into operational systems. China's lunar program has rapidly adopted advanced ion propulsion, autonomous navigation, and sample processing technologies within short time frames of laboratory demonstration. Other space agencies show much longer technology adoption timelines from laboratory proof of concept to operational deployment. This acceleration gap allows China to maintain technological leadership in rapidly evolving fields. The systematic Chinese advantage across multiple dimensions of space operations represents something far more significant than simple efficiency gains. These patterns reveal a fundamental transformation in how lunar exploration operates, moving from the government-led, prestige-focused model of earlier eras to a resource-oriented, commercially driven approach that prioritizes sustainable operations over symbolic achievements. This shift in methodology becomes most apparent when examining where China has chosen to focus its most ambitious operations. While other nations concentrate on familiar territories, China has systematically developed capabilities in the most challenging and strategically valuable lunar real estate. The far-side advantage expands. Chang'e-4's landing in Von Karman crater 6 years ago marked the beginning of China's transformation of the lunar far side from unexplored territory into an operational advantage. The U-22 rover continues its multi-year operations, making it the longest operating lunar rover in history as it traverses terrain that remains invisible to Earth-based telescopes. While other nations focus their lunar ambitions on the familiar near side, China has established the foundation for permanent far-side capabilities. The strategic implications of this positioning become clearer with each passing month as China's far-side operations expand beyond simple exploration. The choice to establish far-side operations required solving communication challenges that had deterred previous missions. China deployed the Chang'e relay satellite at the Earth-Moon L2 Lagrange point, creating a constant communication bridge between Earth and the lunar far side. This satellite maintains continuous line of sight to both locations, enabling real-time control of surface operations and data transmission. The positioning at L2 offers gravitational stability that requires minimal fuel for station keeping, allowing Chang'e to operate for years without significant orbital adjustments. This communication infrastructure represents a technological achievement that gives China control over far-side communications access. The relay satellite system has evolved beyond basic communication into a sophisticated network supporting multiple simultaneous operations. Chang'e-2, launched in 2024, provides enhanced bandwidth and redundancy for the expanding far-side mission portfolio. The dual satellite configuration enables continuous coverage even during maintenance periods and supports high-definition video transmission from the lunar surface. This communication capability allows Chinese mission controllers to operate far-side equipment with the same precision as near-side missions, eliminating the operational disadvantages that previously made far-side exploration impractical. Radio astronomy opportunities on the far side offer China unique advantages unavailable anywhere else in the solar system. The lunar far side remains shielded from Earth's radio emissions, creating the quietest radio environment within millions of kilometers. This natural radio silence enables detection of cosmic signals that would be possible to observe from Earth or near-side locations. Chang'e-4 deployed China's first far-side observatory, including a low-frequency radio telescope capable of detecting signals from the universe's earliest epochs. The scientific data collected from this radio-quiet environment provides insights into cosmic microwave background radiation and the formation of the first stars and galaxies. Geological composition studies reveal that far-side terrain differs fundamentally from near-side materials, offering China access to lunar resources with unique characteristics. The South Pole-Aitken Basin, where Chang'e-4 operates, exposes mantle material rarely found on the lunar surface. This ancient impact structure provides access to minerals and rock formations that formed during the Moon's earliest geological periods. The compositional differences suggest the far side contains resources that could prove crucial for future lunar operations, though the full extent of these differences became clearer through sample analysis techniques. China's far side operations have expanded to include monitoring stations that track celestial phenomena invisible from Earth. The absence of atmospheric interference in Earth's electromagnetic noise allows for astronomical observations of unprecedented clarity. Chinese instruments on the far side have detected cosmic ray patterns and gravitational signatures that Earth-based observatories cannot measure. This positioning provides China with capabilities for monitoring solar storms and space weather events that could affect satellite operations and power grids on Earth. The strategic value of this monitoring capability extends beyond scientific research into practical applications. Mining exploration on the far side has revealed mineral deposits that appear more accessible than equivalent resources on the near side. The unique geological history of the far side created concentrations in different patterns compared to the near side's Maria formations. Chinese rovers have identified titanium-rich deposits within reach of surface operations, along with rare earth elements that could support lunar manufacturing operations. The far side's lower gravity and lack of atmospheric interference create conditions for processing and launching materials to Earth orbit or deeper space destinations. Solar power generation on the far side offers advantages that solve critical energy supply challenges for lunar operations. The far side experiences the same day-night cycle as the near side, but its isolated location eliminates electromagnetic interference that can affect power grid operations. Chinese solar arrays on the far side operate at higher efficiency rates due to the lack of radio frequency interference from Earth. The positioning also enables power transmission experiments using microwave beaming technology that could eventually supply energy to Earth-based receivers. These power generation capabilities support extended surface operations without dependence on nuclear power sources. China's far side infrastructure has grown to support multiple simultaneous missions operating across different regions of the hemisphere. The communication relay network enables coordinated operations between rovers, landers, and orbital assets without requiring direct Earth contact. This operational independence allows China to conduct complex multi-phase missions that would be impossible for other nations without similar relay infrastructure. The far side base serves as a staging area for missions to the lunar South Pole and provides logistical support for deep space operations targeting asteroids and Mars. Ground-penetrating radar has mapped subsurface structures and geological formations that could shelter future operations. The far side's unique position relative to Earth's magnetic field enables studies of solar-wind interactions and space weathering processes that affect all airless bodies in the solar system. Seismic monitoring equipment has detected moonquakes and subsurface activity patterns that differ from near-side geological processes. China's commitment to far-side operations represents a calculated strategy that prioritizes long-term advantages over short-term achievements. While other nations pursue symbolic milestones, China has built the foundation for permanent lunar operations in the most strategically valuable location available. The far side provides opportunities, resource access, and strategic positioning that cannot be replicated elsewhere, giving China sustainable competitive advantages that will persist for decades as lunar operations expand. The true value of China's far-side positioning became fully apparent when the first samples from this hidden hemisphere returned to Earth, carrying secrets that would reshape scientific understanding of lunar formation and resource potential. Sample returns that stunned scientists. When Chang'e-6 returned to Earth in June 2024 carrying 1.935 kilograms of lunar material, the scientific community expected valuable data from the first far-side sample return mission. What they discovered in those samples defied expectations and raised questions that have other space agencies reconsidering their entire approach to lunar exploration. The material collected from the South Pole-aitken Basin contained geological formations unlike anything seen in the Apollo samples or the previous Chang'e-6 side collection. Within weeks of analysis, it became clear that China had brought back evidence of processes that fundamentally challenge existing theories about lunar formation and evolution. The basaltic rocks retrieved from the far side tell a story spanning 2.8 to 4.2 billion years of lunar history. These volcanic specimens preserve records of ancient lunar activity that occurred when the moon's surface was dramatically different from today's barren landscape. The age dating reveals multiple periods of volcanic activity extending far longer than previously documented, suggesting the lunar interior remained active much longer than models predicted. This extended volcanic timeline indicates the moon possessed greater internal heat sources and more complex geological processes than scientists understood from near-side samples alone. Laboratory analysis revealed the most startling discovery within the first month of sample processing. The mantle material beneath the far side contains significantly less water than equivalent regions on the near side, creating an asymmetric distribution that supports the giant impact hypothesis of lunar formation. This water content difference suggests the moon formed from debris created when a Mars-sized object collided with early Earth, with the impact energy and subsequent cooling creating distinct hemispheric characteristics. The finding provides direct physical evidence for theories that had remained largely theoretical due to lack of far-side samples. Chinese laboratories identified KREP material within the far-side samples, a substance rich in potassium, rare earth elements, and phosphorus that forms between the lunar crust and mantle. The presence of KREP in far-side samples confirms that the magma ocean that once covered the moon cooled through similar processes on both hemispheres, despite their current geological differences. This discovery indicates that the moon's early formation involved planet-wide molten conditions that gradually differentiated into the current crustal structure. The KREP layer represents a crucial boundary zone that contains concentrated rare elements essential for understanding lunar geochemistry. The analytical techniques employed by Chinese scientists have advanced beyond capabilities available to previous sample return missions. Electron microprobe analysis, X-ray diffraction, and mass spectrometry systems operating at the Chinese Academy of Sciences can detect trace elements and isotopic signatures at parts per billion levels. These instruments can identify mineral phases and chemical compositions that would have been invisible to 1970s technology used on Apollo samples. The enhanced analytical precision reveals microscale features and chemical gradients that provide detailed information about formation temperatures, cooling rates, and subsequent alteration processes. Mineral compositions found in the far side samples show distinct differences from near side materials that have profound implications for resource extraction planning. The titanium content in far side basalts exceeds near side concentrations by factors of 3 to 4, creating ore-grade deposits that could support industrial operations. Rare earth element concentration shows similar enrichment patterns, with some samples containing neodymium, europium, and yttrium at levels that would be considered economically viable on Earth. These elevated concentrations suggest the far side experienced different cooling and differentiation processes that concentrated valuable elements. The sample processing revealed unexpected organic compounds that formed through interactions between solar wind particles and lunar minerals over billions of years. These compounds, while not indicating biological activity, demonstrate complex chemical processes occurring on the lunar surface that could be harvested for future operations. The organic molecules include carbon-hydrogen chains that could serve as feedstock for producing plastics, fuels, and other materials needed for lunar settlements. The discovery suggests the lunar surface acts as a chemical reactor, continuously producing useful compounds through space weathering processes. Chinese researchers discovered evidence of subsurface ice deposits within the crystalline structure of far-side samples that were previously undetected by remote sensing instruments. The ice appears as microscopic inclusions within mineral grains, preserved from ancient comet impacts that occurred billions of years ago. This subsurface ice represents a water source that remains stable against sublimation and could provide resources for future lunar operations. The discovery method using sample analysis suggests similar ice deposits may exist throughout the lunar interior, accessible through mining operations. Analysis revealed isotopic signatures that indicate the far side experienced different bombardment patterns during the late heavy bombardment period 4 billion years ago. The isotope ratios of platinum group elements showed distinct patterns compared to near-side samples, suggesting the impactors that shaped the far side came from different regions of the solar system. This bombardment history affected the distribution of volatile elements and created the unique geological characteristics that distinguish far-side terrain from near-side Maria formations. The samples contain microscopic glass spherules formed during ancient impact events that preserve records of the lunar magnetic field from billions of years ago. These glass beads contain iron particles aligned according to magnetic field directions that existed when the impacts occurred. The magnetic signatures indicate the Moon possessed a much stronger magnetic field in its early history, generated by a liquid iron core that has since cooled and solidified. This magnetic field evidence helps explain how the Moon retained its early atmosphere and water content longer than previously thought possible. Chinese laboratories identified previously unknown mineral phases that formed under the extreme pressure and temperature conditions of the South Pole-aitken impact event. These minerals, including high-pressure polymorphs of common silicate minerals, provide direct evidence of the energy involved in creating the solar system's largest impact structure. The mineral assemblages indicate impact pressures exceeding 60 gigapascals and temperatures above 2,000 degrees Celsius, conditions that created unique materials not found elsewhere in the solar system. The commercial implications of these discoveries extend beyond scientific curiosity into practical applications for lunar industrialization. The concentrated rare earth elements could support manufacturing operations for electronics and advanced materials needed for space infrastructure. The titanium-rich deposits provide raw materials for structural components and spacecraft manufacturing. The organic compounds offer feedstock for chemical processing operations that could produce everything from rocket fuel to life support consumables. However, the most significant aspect of these discoveries may be what China has chosen not to publish in international scientific journals. The 2-year delay between sample return and partial data release suggests extensive classified analysis of materials with strategic importance. Independent scientists note that published results focus on basic geological processes while avoiding detailed discussion of resource concentrations and extraction methodologies. This selective disclosure pattern indicates China has identified commercially valuable materials that warrant protection from international competitors. Among the most intriguing discoveries was the identification of Chang'eite, a new mineral containing helium-3 that China first discovered in Chang'e-5 samples in 2020. The Chang'e-6 far side samples revealed this mineral exists in higher concentrations across the lunar far side, building on China's systematic mapping of helium-3 distribution that began with Chang'e-1 in 2007. Chinese scientists have conducted extensive experiments on optimal methods for heating lunar regolith to release helium-3, emphasizing the potential for future fusion energy applications. While helium-3 fusion remains decades away from practical implementation, China's comprehensive mapping and extraction research positions them uniquely to exploit this resource when technology advances make it viable. The Chang'e-6 samples have fundamentally altered scientific understanding of lunar formation while revealing resource concentrations that can determine who controls future lunar economic development. The far side materials contain the keys to understanding how rocky planets form and evolve, while simultaneously providing the raw materials needed to establish permanent human presence beyond Earth. These discoveries position China as the gatekeeper of both lunar science and lunar commerce, with exclusive access to materials that may prove essential for humanity's expansion into the solar system. Yet, among all the valuable resources identified in these samples, one element, the helium-3 gold rush, begins. Helium-3 represents the ultimate prize in lunar resource extraction, containing energy potential that could revolutionize global power generation. A single gram of this rare isotope contains enough energy to power an average home for over 3 years, yet Earth's entire supply amounts to barely 15 tons trapped in natural gas deposits. The lunar surface contains an estimated 1.2 million tons of helium-3, deposited over billions of years by solar wind particles embedding themselves in the regolith. While fusion reactors using helium-3 remain largely theoretical for most nations, China has made significant advances in fusion technology development, building on decades of research that began with their systematic mapping of helium-3 distribution, starting with Chang'e-1 in 2007. Global energy demand continues rising while fossil fuel reserves diminish and renewable sources struggle to meet baseline power requirements. Coal plants still generate substantial electricity in developing nations, while nuclear fission creates long-term waste storage problems that have plagued the industry for decades. Helium-3 fusion produces no radioactive waste, generates no greenhouse gases, and offers energy density thousands of times greater than chemical fuels. The economic implications become staggering when considering the potential scale of lunar helium-3 extraction operations. China's approach to helium-3 extraction technology centers on advanced heating processes that separate the isotope from lunar soil through carefully controlled temperature management. The technique uses targeted heating methods that optimize helium-3 release while minimizing energy requirements compared to conventional theoretical models. This selective heating approach reduces energy requirements significantly compared to earlier conceptual methods, making extraction economically viable for future operations. The process can extract high percentages of available helium-3 from processed soil samples, exceeding efficiency rates projected by competing theoretical technologies. Chinese scientists have developed mobile processing concepts that could extract helium-3 continuously while rovers collect fresh regolith samples. The proposed systems operate on integrated cycles where heated soil releases helium-3 gas into collection chambers while the remaining material gets processed for rare earth elements and construction materials. This integrated approach maximizes resource utilization while minimizing the massive equipment needed for lunar operations. The processing concepts could handle substantial quantities of regolith per operational cycle, yielding helium-3 along with valuable byproducts including titanium, aluminum, and silicon. The global helium-3 supply bottleneck creates unprecedented strategic leverage for any nation capable of lunar extraction. Terrestrial sources provide limited quantities annually, primarily as a byproduct of tritium decay in nuclear weapons programs. This limited supply constrains fusion research and makes commercial helium-3 reactors impossible without lunar sources. China's planned lunar operations could potentially extract significant quantities of helium-3 in future decades, creating supply capabilities that would influence the entire global fusion energy market. The strategic implications extend beyond energy production into national security, as helium-3 also enables advanced neutron detection systems crucial for nuclear weapons monitoring. Economic modeling shows that helium-3 could trade at substantial prices in early markets, making it among the most valuable substances ever extracted from space. The total economic value of lunar helium-3 deposits reaches extraordinary figures using conservative pricing estimates, dwarfing conventional resource markets. China's potential advantages in this resource could generate substantial revenues while simultaneously influencing the energy infrastructure development of other nations. The economic leverage would create new forms of resource dependency, similar to petroleum markets, but with far greater strategic implications. Geopolitical consequences of Chinese helium-3 advantages reshape international power structures in ways not seen since major industrial revolutions. Nations dependent on helium-3 for fusion energy would face vulnerabilities similar to those currently experienced by oil-importing countries, but with potentially greater strategic implications. China could use helium-3 supplies to influence foreign policy decisions, trade agreements, and alliance structures. The resource dependency would create new forms of economic relationships where advanced nations become reliant on China's lunar mining operations. Energy security would require maintaining favorable relationships with China, fundamentally altering diplomatic calculations across the globe. China's timeline for commercial helium-3 extraction accelerates beyond international projections, with research operations planned for the late 2020s and potential full-scale extraction beginning in the 2030s. The International Lunar Research Station provides the infrastructure foundation for these operations with dedicated processing facilities and transportation systems under development. Chinese space officials have allocated substantial funding specifically for helium-3 extraction technology development, demonstrating commitment that exceeds the space budgets of most nations. The timeline assumes successful completion of Chang'e-7 and Chang'e-8 missions, which will deploy automated mining equipment to the lunar surface. Chinese extraction methods diverge fundamentally from theoretical approaches developed by other nations, focusing on continuous processing rather than batch extraction systems. NASA's conceptual designs require massive infrastructure installations that process enormous quantities of regolith in centralized facilities. China's distributed approach uses smaller, mobile units that can operate across multiple sites simultaneously, reducing infrastructure requirements while increasing operational flexibility. The Chinese method also integrates helium-3 extraction with broader resource utilization programs, creating economic synergies that make lunar operations profitable even during early phases when extraction volumes remain relatively low. Ground-penetrating radar surveys conducted by Chinese lunar missions have mapped helium-3 concentrations across extensive areas of lunar surface, revealing deposit patterns that optimize extraction efforts in prime locations. The surveys identify regolith depths, composition variations, and accessibility factors that determine mining feasibility for different sites. Chinese mapping data shows helium-3 concentrations varying significantly across different lunar regions, with the highest concentrations found in areas exposed to solar wind for extended periods. This detailed mapping provides China with strategic advantages in site selection that competing nations cannot match without conducting similar extensive surveys. Commercial helium-3 extraction represents more than a technological achievement for China. It establishes the foundation for controlling humanity's energy future through lunar resource development. The nation that controls helium-3 supplies will determine which countries can access clean fusion energy and which remain dependent on fossil fuels or alternative energy sources. China's systematic approach to lunar helium-3 extraction creates strategic advantages that could influence global politics, economics, and technological development for decades. Yet, helium-3 represents only one component of lunar resource control, as another substance proves equally critical for establishing permanent human presence beyond Earth. Water ice and the South Pole race. Water ice represents the difference between visiting the moon and living there permanently. Without accessible water sources, lunar bases require constant resupply missions from Earth at costs exceeding $10,000 per kilogram delivered to the lunar surface. Water ice changes this equation completely, providing drinking water, oxygen for breathing, and hydrogen for rocket fuel through simple electrolysis processes. The challenge lies in finding locations where water ice remains stable and accessible for extraction operations. Only specific regions of the moon contain water ice deposits that can support sustained human operations, and these locations have become the most contested real estate in the solar system. The lunar South Pole contains water ice trapped in permanently shadowed craters where temperatures remain below minus 230 degrees Celsius year-round. These craters never receive direct sunlight due to the moon's minimal axial tilt, creating cold traps that preserve water ice for billions of years. The South Pole-aitken Basin offers permanently shadowed craters with water ice confirmed by orbital reconnaissance and Chang'e-6 sample analysis showing hydroxyl compounds in mid-latitude regions. However, only a handful of crater locations offer the combination of accessible terrain, sufficient ice concentrations, and proximity to solar power sources needed for practical extraction operations. Chang'e-7, planned for launch around 2026, carries specialized equipment designed to map water ice deposits across the lunar South Pole with unprecedented precision. The mission will deploy ground-penetrating radar, neutron spectrometers, and thermal imaging systems that can detect water ice signatures beneath several meters of regolith. The orbiter component will spend months mapping ice concentrations across multiple crater sites, while the lander conducts detailed subsurface analysis of the most promising locations. A mini-flying detector will actively search for water ice in permanently shadowed areas, providing comprehensive survey data that no other nation has been able to replicate. The mapping capabilities will identify locations where water ice concentrations make extraction economically viable with current technology. These deposits cluster around crater rims that offer both permanent shadow for ice preservation and adjacent areas with continuous sunlight for solar power generation. The optimal sites provide access to substantial water ice reserves while maintaining favorable terrain for landing operations and infrastructure development. China's detailed mapping will include subsurface ice distribution patterns, extraction accessibility ratings, and terrain analysis that other nations cannot without conducting similar comprehensive surveys. Chinese ice detection technology operates at sensitivity levels that can identify water ice concentrations far below what orbital reconnaissance missions can detect. The neutron spectrometer instruments can distinguish between different hydrogen-bearing compounds, separating water ice from hydrated minerals that contain unusable water molecules. This precision enables Chinese mission planners to target specific extraction sites with confidence in resource availability and extraction efficiency. The technology also maps ice layer thickness and distribution patterns that determine optimal extraction strategies for different deposit types. Chang'e-8, scheduled for launch around 2028, will deploy automated ice extraction equipment to test in-situ resource utilization technologies at the most promising South Pole locations. The mission includes drilling systems, heating units, and processing equipment designed to extract water ice and convert it into usable resources. This mission will work in coordination with Chang'e-7 to establish the basic model for sustained lunar operations, focusing on technologies necessary for constructing a permanent lunar presence. The timeline gives China significant advantages in establishing operational capabilities for water ice extraction. Chinese extraction methods focus on automated systems that can operate continuously without human supervision, reducing operational costs and complexity compared to human-operated extraction facilities. The extraction process uses microwave heating to sublimate ice directly from frozen soil, capturing water vapor in collection chambers for processing into liquid water, breathable oxygen, and rocket fuel. The automated systems can process substantial quantities of ice-bearing regolith per day, yielding pure water along with valuable byproducts including rare earth elements and construction materials. Controlling water ice sources translates directly into controlling lunar colonization opportunities, as future bases must locate within practical distance of reliable water supplies. The nation that establishes extraction operations first gains preferential access to the surrounding territory for base construction and resource utilization activities. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty prohibits sovereign claims to the moon, but as countries prepare to extract resources, new international agreements or conflicts may emerge. The nation leading the search and use of lunar materials will wield significant influence over those rules. Chinese ice extraction operations extend beyond basic resource collection into comprehensive utilization programs that maximize the value of every extracted molecule. The water ice provides drinking water and oxygen for life support systems, while hydrogen serves as rocket fuel for transportation between Earth and lunar operations. The extraction process also yields carbon dioxide and other trace gases that can support plant growth in lunar greenhouses or serve as feedstock for manufacturing plastics and other materials. This comprehensive utilization approach creates economic synergies that make lunar operations profitable even when transportation costs remain high. The strategic implications of Chinese water ice dominance extend far beyond lunar operations into broader space exploration and colonization activities. Water ice serves as the foundation for all human space activities, providing life support resources and transportation fuel for missions to Mars, asteroids, and other destinations. The nation controlling lunar water ice supplies gains leverage over international space exploration efforts and can influence mission planning and resource allocation decisions. China's comprehensive approach to water ice mapping, extraction, and utilization positions the nation to secure the most valuable lunar real estate before international competitors can establish competing operations. The combination of detailed resource mapping, advanced extraction technology, and accelerated timeline execution creates advantages that other nations cannot easily replicate. The lunar South Pole's water ice deposits represent the key to sustainable space exploration, and China's systematic approach to controlling these resources establishes the foundation for something far more ambitious than simple resource extraction: the International Lunar Research Station vision. This comprehensive resource control strategy culminates in China's International Lunar Research Station, the most ambitious permanent lunar facility ever conceived. The project timeline spans two critical phases, with the basic station operational by 2035 and a fully expanded facility completed by 2045. This permanent lunar presence will combine surface installations with orbital components, creating an integrated system for scientific research, resource extraction, and technology development. The station's capabilities include autonomous operations during unmanned periods and comprehensive life support systems for human crews during occupied phases. The coalition backing China's Lunar Research Station tells a different story than NASA's Artemis Accords regarding international space cooperation. 17 countries and international organizations have signed formal cooperation agreements with China for the Lunar Station project, including Pakistan, Venezuela, Belarus, Azerbaijan, South Africa, Egypt, Nicaragua, Thailand, Serbia, Senegal, and Kazakhstan. These partnerships extend beyond symbolic support into concrete contributions of hardware, expertise, and operational support. Russia's participation through Roscosmos adds significant technical capabilities and launch capacity to the Chinese-led coalition. This coalition operates under fundamentally different principles than traditional space partnerships, emphasizing shared benefits and joint development rather than hierarchical alliance structures. China's timeline for lunar base construction accelerates far beyond competing programs, with Chang'e-7 scheduled for 2026 to survey the lunar South Pole environment and Chang'e-6 following around 2028 to begin actual construction activities. The Chang'e-8 mission will conduct the first in-situ resource utilization experiments and establish the initial infrastructure for the research station. According to Wu Weiren, chief designer of China's lunar exploration program, Chang'e-8 will conduct experiments on in-situ resource utilization and the construction of a lunar-based terrestrial ecosystem. The mission carries 10 international payloads from 11 nations and 1 organization, demonstrating the multinational character of China's approach to lunar development. The contrast between China's partnership model and America's alliance-based strategy reveals fundamental philosophical differences in space governance. NASA's Artemis Accords requires signatory nations to accept American leadership and comply with United States space policy priorities. China's approach operates on what Wu Weiren describes as joint consultation, joint construction, and shared benefits, creating a more egalitarian partnership structure that appeals to nations seeking space access without subordinating their sovereignty to American interests. This alternative model attracts countries that prefer collaborative development over hierarchical arrangements dominated by a single superpower. The technological capabilities planned for China's research station exceed those of any previous lunar facility, combining advanced life support systems, automated manufacturing equipment, and comprehensive scientific instrumentation. The station will feature long-term autonomous operations capability, enabling continuous scientific research and resource extraction activities without constant human supervision. power generation systems will utilize both solar arrays and nuclear options to ensure reliable energy supply through the lunar day-night cycle. Communication systems will maintain constant contact with Earth through relay satellites while supporting internal operations across multiple facility locations. The geopolitical implications of competing lunar-based projects extend far beyond scientific research into questions of lunar governance and resource control. China's International Lunar Research Station and NASA's Artemis Base Camp both target the lunar South Pole region, creating potential conflicts over territorial access and resource extraction rights. The nation that establishes permanent operational presence first gains significant advantages in determining how lunar activities are regulated and controlled. International space law remains ambiguous regarding territorial claims, but operational precedents established by early bases may influence future legal frameworks governing lunar activities. China's accelerated timeline positions the International Lunar Research Station to become operational years before NASA's Artemis Base Camp reaches similar capabilities. The Chinese facility's basic version will support scientific operations by 2035. While NASA's permanent lunar presence depends on the successful completion of Artemis missions that have experienced repeated delays and budget overruns. This timeline advantage provides China with first-mover benefits, establishing operational procedures, territorial claims, and resource extraction activities that could persist for decades as lunar operations expand. The partnership model employed by China differs fundamentally from traditional space cooperation frameworks that have dominated international space activities since the Apollo era. China's 555 project aims to engage 50 countries, 500 international scientific research institutions, and 5,000 overseas researchers in the Lunar Research Station program. This broad-based approach creates multiple pathways for international participation while distributing technological benefits across participating nations. The model emphasizes capacity building and technology transfer rather than the asymmetric relationships that characterize many traditional space partnerships. Advanced technologies planned for testing at China's lunar base include automated mining systems, closed-loop life support systems, and advanced manufacturing capabilities using lunar materials. The station will serve as a proving ground for technologies needed for eventual Mars missions and asteroid mining operations. In ICQ resource utilization experiments will demonstrate the feasibility of producing fuel, water, and construction materials from lunar resources. These capabilities will be tested under actual lunar conditions rather than Earth-based simulations, providing operational data that cannot be obtained any other way. Manufacturing capabilities at the International Lunar Research Station will include 3D printing systems capable of producing tools, spare parts, and construction materials from lunar regolith. Advanced robotic systems will handle dangerous or repetitive tasks, while human crews focus on scientific research and complex operations requiring human judgment. The station will also test closed-loop ecological systems that could support long-term human presence while minimizing dependence on Earth-based supplies. These systems will include hydroponic growing facilities, atmospheric recycling equipment, and waste processing systems that convert human waste into useful materials. The International Lunar Research Station represents more than a scientific facility. It establishes the foundation for an alternative space governance structure that challenges American dominance in space activities. China's partnership model creates pathways for international space participation that operate outside American-controlled frameworks like the Artemis Accords. The success of China's Lunar Research Station could demonstrate that space exploration and development can proceed through multilateral cooperation rather than American leadership. The station's planned location within 100 kilometers of the lunar South Pole positions it to control access to the Moon's most valuable water ice deposits while serving as a staging area for broader lunar exploration activities. The combination of permanent infrastructure, international partnerships, and advanced technological capabilities creates a foundation for Chinese lunar dominance that could persist for decades. Yet the International Lunar Research Station's true significance may extend beyond scientific research and resource extraction into capabilities that serve strategic military implications in space warfare. China's space program operates under direct military oversight through the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force, which controls key aspects of mission planning and technology development. Every technology developed for lunar exploration serves both civilian and military purposes, creating capabilities that extend far beyond scientific research. The Long March 5 rocket that launches Chang'e missions can also deploy military satellites and strategic payloads. The precision guidance systems that land rovers on the lunar surface translate directly to ballistic missile accuracy improvements. The communication networks that connect Earth to lunar operations provide military command and control capabilities that operate beyond the reach of terrestrial interference. The strategic positioning available from lunar operations offers military advantages that terrestrial bases cannot match. A lunar installation provides surveillance coverage of the entire Earth hemisphere facing the Moon, enabling continuous monitoring of military activities, shipping movements, and strategic installations. The high ground advantage extends beyond traditional military thinking into space-based warfare capabilities, where lunar installations could serve as staging areas for operations throughout the Earth-Moon system. The 1.3-second communication delay between Earth and Moon creates operational challenges for real-time control, but offers advantages for autonomous military systems that can operate without constant ground supervision. Lunar-based surveillance systems operating from Chinese installations could monitor global military activities with capabilities that exceed any Earth-based intelligence-gathering network. The lunar surface provides stable platforms for enormous telescopes and sensor arrays that can observe Earth continuously without atmospheric interference. These systems could track submarine movements, monitor military base activities, and observe strategic weapons deployments with resolution impossible from Earth orbit. The permanent lunar presence enables long-term surveillance operations that remain beyond the reach of terrestrial countermeasures or diplomatic pressure. Military analysts express growing concerns about China's space militarization efforts disguised as civilian lunar exploration activities. The same rockets that deliver scientific payloads can launch anti-satellite weapons or space-based interceptors. The robotic systems that collect lunar samples could be repurposed for capturing or disabling enemy satellites. The dual-use nature of space technology makes every Chinese lunar achievement a potential military capability enhancement. China's lunar program receives support from groups including the Atomic Energy Authority, demonstrating the integration between civilian space exploration and military strategic planning. Lunar territory represents the ultimate high ground in military strategic thinking, providing advantages that reshape global power projection capabilities. The Moon's lower gravity enables the construction of enormous structures and weapons systems that would be impossible to build on Earth. The vacuum environment allows for weapons technologies that cannot operate in Earth's atmosphere, including particle beam systems and large-scale electromagnetic launchers. The potential for military conflicts over lunar resources and territory grows as multiple nations establish permanent installations in close proximity. Competition for water ice deposits at the lunar South Pole could trigger the first extraterrestrial territorial disputes in human history. The valuable helium-3 deposits scattered across the lunar surface create strategic resources worth fighting to control. International space law provides limited guidance for resolving territorial conflicts on the Moon, creating legal ambiguities that could escalate into military confrontations between competing lunar installations. The Moon may become a strategic asset comparable to the Persian Gulf in the 21st century, with the nation that first develops efficient lunar resource extraction gaining significant strategic advantages. China and Russia plan to build a nuclear reactor on the Moon by 2035 to power the International Lunar Research Station, creating power generation capabilities that could support military operations requiring enormous energy inputs. The reactors could power directed energy weapons, electromagnetic launch systems, or space-based manufacturing facilities that produce military equipment. The 2035 timeline for lunar nuclear reactors positions China to achieve energy independence for lunar operations, while providing power for activities that other nations cannot support with solar arrays alone. The classified aspects of China's lunar program likely include military applications that remain hidden from international observers and scientific publications. The 2-year delay between Chang'e-6 sample return and data publication suggests extensive classified analysis of materials with military significance. The selective disclosure of lunar mapping data indicates that China has identified strategic locations and resources that warrant protection from international competitors. The direct military oversight of China's space program ensures that military applications receive priority consideration in mission planning and technology development. Economic warfare implications emerge from China's potential control over lunar resources that could become essential for advanced military technologies. The rare earth elements concentrated in lunar deposits provide materials for advanced electronics and weapons systems that competing nations cannot access from terrestrial sources. The helium-3 monopoly could enable China to control fusion energy development worldwide, creating dependencies that influence military alliance structures and strategic planning. The water-ice resources needed for space-based military operations remain concentrated in locations that China may control before other nations establish competing installations. The integration of China's lunar program with broader military space capabilities creates synergistic advantages that multiply the strategic value of individual achievements. The same deep space communication networks that support lunar operations enhance military satellite constellations and space-based weapon systems. The precision guidance technologies developed for lunar missions improve ballistic missile accuracy and space-based interceptor capabilities. The autonomous systems that operate lunar installations can function as templates for military robotics that operate in space environments. The timeline for Chinese military space capabilities accelerates through lunar program achievements that provide technology transfer and operational experience. The successful operation of autonomous systems in lunar environments demonstrates capabilities that translate directly to military space operations. The development of closed-loop life support systems for lunar installations creates technologies needed for long-duration military space missions. The precision landing capabilities proven through Chang'e missions enable military payloads to reach any location in the solar system with accuracy that traditional spacecraft cannot achieve. The transformation of lunar space from a scientific frontier into a military domain represents a fundamental shift in global strategic competition that will reshape international relations for decades to come. China's systematic approach to lunar exploration and development positions the nation to claim the strategic high ground, while other nations remain focused on symbolic achievements rather than military applications. Yet the military implications of China's lunar dominance represent only one dimension of a broader technological revolution that extends far beyond space exploration into applications that directly impact daily life on Earth. Technology transfer and commercial applications. The technologies developed for China's lunar missions have created commercial applications that transform entire industries across the Chinese economy. Heat shield technology that protected Chang'e sample return capsules during re-entry now shields high-speed trains from friction damage and protects industrial furnaces from extreme temperatures. Chinese engineers discovered that ultra-lightweight ceramic composites developed for spacecraft thermal protection performed better than traditional materials in terrestrial applications. The same carbon-silicon compounds that withstand extreme re-entry temperatures now coat brake systems of China's fastest trains, while manufacturing companies across China have adopted these aerospace-grade materials for applications ranging from steel production to semiconductor fabrication. Precision guidance systems that landed Chang'e rovers within meters of their target coordinates have transformed Chinese manufacturing through robotic automation advances. The same computer vision algorithms that navigate lunar terrain now guide assembly line robots with accuracy levels that exceed human capabilities. Chinese factories deploy these space-derived navigation systems in automotive production, electronics manufacturing, and pharmaceutical packaging operations. The technology reduces production errors while increasing manufacturing speed compared to conventional robotic systems. The economic impact extends beyond individual factories as Chinese manufacturers gain competitive advantages in global markets through superior quality control and production efficiency. Advanced material science breakthroughs achieved through lunar mission development have created commercial applications worth billions of dollars annually. The ultra-strong composites designed for lunar habitat construction now reinforce infrastructure projects across China, from bridges to skyscrapers. The same materials that must withstand temperature, extremes, and radiation exposure on the moon provide superior durability for terrestrial construction applications. Chinese construction companies report building lifespans increased significantly when using these aerospace-derived materials, while maintenance costs decrease compared to conventional construction methods. The technology transfer creates competitive advantages that position Chinese construction firms to win international contracts through superior material performance. Solar panel efficiency improvements developed for lunar operations have revolutionized China's renewable energy sector. The photovoltaic cells designed to operate in the lunar environment without atmospheric protection achieve conversion rates substantially higher than traditional panels. Chinese energy companies have deployed these high-efficiency panels across massive solar farms that generate power at lower costs than conventional installations. The technology enables China to accelerate its renewable energy transition while reducing dependence on imported fossil fuels. The same solar technology that powers lunar rovers now contributes to China's position as the world's largest producer of renewable energy equipment. Communication technology advances driven by lunar mission requirements have transformed China's telecommunications infrastructure. The error correction algorithms developed for Earth-Moon communications now enhance cellular networks, satellite communications, and internet backbone systems. Chinese telecommunications equipment manufacturers have integrated these space-derived technologies into commercial products that outperform competing systems in reliability and data transmission rates. The technology provides better signal clarity and fewer drop connections compared to conventional systems. Chinese companies now export these advanced telecommunications systems globally, capturing market share through superior performance enabled by lunar mission technology development. China's approach to technology transfer operates through systematic programs that connect space mission development with commercial applications. The China National Space Administration maintains dedicated offices that identify promising technologies during mission development phases and connect them with commercial partners for terrestrial applications. This structured approach ensures that technological breakthroughs reach commercial markets within months of space mission validation, compared to longer timelines for other space programs. The accelerated transfer timeline allows Chinese companies to establish market dominance before international competitors can develop similar capabilities. Artificial intelligence systems developed for autonomous lunar operations now power commercial applications across multiple industries. The machine learning algorithms that enable Chang'e rovers to navigate lunar terrain without human intervention have been adapted for autonomous vehicle development, industrial automation, and logistics optimization. Chinese companies deploy these AI systems in warehouse operations, achieving substantial efficiency improvements while reducing operational errors. The same decision-making capabilities that allow lunar rovers to avoid obstacles and select optimal paths now guide delivery drones, agricultural robots, and mining equipment throughout China's economy. Battery technology breakthroughs achieved through lunar mission power system development have created commercial applications that extend far beyond space exploration. The energy storage systems designed to survive lunar temperature extremes now power electric vehicles, grid storage systems, and portable electronics with performance characteristics that exceed conventional batteries. Chinese battery manufacturers report energy density improvements and charging speed increases compared to previous generation systems. The technology enables China to dominate global electric vehicle markets while establishing leadership in grid-scale energy storage systems that support renewable energy integration. China's systematic approach to commercializing lunar technologies creates competitive advantages that extend far beyond individual companies or sectors. The integration of space-derived innovations throughout China's economy creates synergistic effects that multiply the benefits of individual technological advances. Companies that adopt multiple space-derived technologies achieve performance improvements that exceed the sum of individual technology benefits. This systemic approach to technology transfer establishes China as the global leader in commercializing space technology, creating economic advantages that will persist for decades. International cooperation in technology sharing demonstrates China's commitment to scientific collaboration while maintaining strategic advantages. China shares lunar samples with 7 institutions in 6 countries through an open, competitive process, setting positive examples for scientific cooperation. This approach to sharing scientific resources takes China's embrace of international cooperation to new levels while building goodwill among global research communities. The sample sharing program enables international scientists to contribute to lunar research while ensuring China maintains leadership in lunar exploration and technology development. The commercial space sector growth driven by lunar program achievements has created a thriving ecosystem of private enterprises developing reusable launch vehicles, satellite systems, and orbital services. Backed by strong government funding and innovation policies, China's private space enterprises rapidly close technological gaps with global counterparts. This commercial sector drives down launch costs while meeting demand for ambitious satellite constellation plans. The integration of government lunar program achievements with private sector innovation creates a competitive advantage that positions China to dominate multiple space commerce sectors simultaneously. These technological achievements and commercial applications represent more than economic advantages. They establish the foundation for China's next major space milestone. The same technologies that revolutionized terrestrial industries will soon support an even more ambitious goal that could determine which nation leads humanity's return to the lunar surface. The timeline race to human lunar landing. China targets 2030 for its first crewed lunar landing, while NASA's Artemis program struggles with delays that have pushed human lunar missions to 2027 at the earliest. The contrast in timeline execution reveals fundamental differences between the two programs. China's space officials maintain unwavering commitment to their 2030 target date, with development milestones proceeding according to schedule. NASA's Artemis timeline has shifted repeatedly, with the original 2024 target date becoming 2025, then 2026, now 2027 or later. The delays stem from technical challenges, budget constraints, and coordination difficulties across multiple contractors and space centers. The delays plaguing NASA's Artemis program create opportunities for China to achieve the symbolic victory of returning humans to the lunar surface first since Apollo 17 in 1972. NASA's Space Launch System rocket experienced multiple technical setbacks during its uncrewed test flight, including fuel leaks, engine problems, and software glitches that required extensive troubleshooting. The Orion spacecraft's heat shield showed unexpected erosion patterns during re-entry, triggering design reviews and potential modifications that could delay crewed missions further. These technical challenges compound with budget overruns that have consumed massive resources without achieving operational capability. China's human spaceflight capabilities have advanced dramatically through the operational Tiangong space station, which regularly hosts rotating crews of tachonauts conducting complex scientific experiments and maintenance operations. The Chang'e-19 mission, launched in late 2024, demonstrated China's ability to conduct long-duration spaceflights, extravehicular activities, and advanced system installations. The tachonauts installed debris protection systems and conducted scientific experiments that directly support lunar mission planning. This operational experience provides Chinese astronauts with space-based skills that exceed those of current American astronauts, who have limited recent experience beyond low Earth orbit. The nation that returns humans to the moon first gains symbolic leadership in space exploration and practical advantages in establishing lunar operations. The psychological impact of achieving this milestone shapes international perceptions of technological leadership and national prestige. More importantly, the first nation to establish crewed lunar operations gains operational experience that accelerates subsequent mission development. The crew that lands first will conduct site surveys, test equipment, and establish infrastructure that provides advantages for follow-up missions. These practical benefits compound over time as operational experience translates into more efficient and safer lunar operations. China's technical challenges center on developing the long March 10 rocket and the Mingzhou spacecraft system that will carry tachonauts to lunar orbit and back to Earth. The Long Opponents, a single-stage version, is scheduled for testing in 2026, providing crucial data for the full two-stage version needed for crewed missions. The rocket must demonstrate reliability standards that exceed those required for cargo missions, as crew-rated systems undergo more rigorous testing protocols. The Mingzhou spacecraft faces similar challenges in life support systems, radiation, shielding, and emergency abort capabilities that ensure crew safety during the multi-day journey to the moon and back. NASA's technical challenges involve integrating multiple complex systems developed by different contractors across various locations. The Space Launch System rocket, Orion spacecraft, and lunar landers must work together flawlessly during missions that leave no room for error. The integration process has revealed compatibility issues and design conflicts that require extensive modification and testing. The distributed development approach creates coordination challenges that slow problem resolution and increase costs. Each technical modification triggers reviews across multiple systems, creating cascading delays that push timelines further into the future. The symbolic importance of being first to establish permanent human presence extends beyond national pride into questions of lunar governance and resource control. The nation that maintains continuous human presence on the moon gains stronger claims to territorial control and resource extraction rights. International space law provides limited guidance on territorial sovereignty, but operational precedents established by permanent bases may influence future legal frameworks. The first nation to achieve permanent human presence gains first-mover advantages in determining how lunar activities are regulated and controlled. China's timeline execution benefits from centralized decision-making and dedicated funding that eliminates many coordination challenges facing NASA's distributed approach. The China National Space Administration operates under direct government control with clear authority to make decisions and allocate resources. This centralized structure enables rapid problem-solving and course corrections without lengthy committee processes or contractor negotiations. The consistent funding levels allow for long-term planning and resource allocation that maintains steady progress toward mission objectives. The practical importance of achieving crewed lunar landing first becomes apparent when considering how human presence accelerates lunar development and resource extraction. Crewed missions enable real-time decision-making, complex problem-solving, and equipment maintenance that robotic missions cannot provide. Human crews can adapt to unexpected conditions, conduct detailed site surveys, and establish infrastructure with flexibility that autonomous systems lack. The nation that lands humans first gains operational advantages that compound through subsequent missions as crew experience improves mission efficiency and safety. Chinese takonauts will possess capabilities that previous lunar visitors lacked, including advanced spacesuits with longer operational durations, improved communication systems, and enhanced mobility equipment. The new generation of spacesuits provides 8 hours of operational capability compared to the 6-hour limitation of Apollo-era equipment. Advanced life support systems enable longer surface stays and more complex operations during each mission. The improved mobility systems allow takonauts to travel greater distances and conduct more extensive exploration activities than previous lunar crews. The acceleration of lunar development through crewed missions creates competitive advantages that extend far beyond individual landing achievements. Human crews can establish infrastructure, conduct resource extraction experiments, and test technologies that enable permanent lunar operations. The nation that lands first gains operational experience that reduces costs and improves efficiency for subsequent missions. This experience advantage creates positive feedback loops where early success enables more ambitious follow-up missions that further extend competitive advantages. China's approach to crewed lunar missions emphasizes systematic preparation and risk reduction that may provide timeline advantages over NASA's more ambitious but complex approach. The methodical progression from automated missions to crewed operations follows proven development patterns that minimize technical risks. The focus on reliable systems rather than cutting-edge technology reduces the likelihood of mission delays due to technical failures. This conservative approach may enable China to achieve crewed lunar landing before NASA's more complex system architecture becomes fully operational. China's lunar exploration achievements position it as a leading power in lunar operations, especially in far-side operations and resource mapping. The systematic advantages in timeline execution, operational experience, and strategic positioning create competitive benefits that may determine long-term lunar dominance. Yet, determining who actually leads this competition requires examining achievements across multiple dimensions. The new space race scorecard. The comprehensive analysis across multiple performance dimensions reveals which nations have gained genuine advantages in the modern space competition. Traditional metrics like launch frequency and payload capacity tell only part of the story. The real scorecard examines mission success rates, cost efficiency, technological innovation, and strategic positioning for long-term space dominance. When analyzed through these comprehensive criteria, the results challenge conventional assumptions about which nations lead humanity's expansion beyond Earth. China's mission success rate stands at 100% across all lunar operations since 2007, a record unmatched by any other space power. The Chang'e program has executed consecutive successful missions without a single failure, from early orbiters to complex sample return operations. This flawless execution contrasts sharply with NASA's recent track record, where the Artemis program has experienced multiple delays and technical setbacks. The European Space Agency's lunar ambitions remain largely theoretical, while Russia's Lunar program struggles with funding constraints and technological challenges. India's Chandrayaan missions show promise, but operate on a much smaller scale with limited frequency. Cost efficiency measurements reveal China's systematic advantages in space operations. Chinese lunar missions operate at substantially lower costs compared to NASA's equivalent capabilities. The Long March 5 rocket launches cost significantly less than Space Launch System launches when development costs are included. This cost advantage enables China to conduct more frequent missions while maintaining lower overall program expenses. The efficiency stems from vertical integration, streamlined decision-making, and focused objectives rather than the distributed contractor model used by NASA. Timeline execution provides another crucial metric where China demonstrates clear advantages. The Chang'e program maintains consistent mission schedules with launches occurring every 18 to 24 months as planned. NASA's Artemis program has experienced repeated delays, with the first crewed lunar landing pushed from 2024 to 2027 or later. China's systematic approach prioritizes mission success over speed to market, resulting in longer development cycles but fewer setbacks. This methodical execution enables predictable progress toward long-term objectives while competitors struggle with coordination challenges and technical problems. Technological innovation measurements show China adopting new technologies into operational systems within short time frames of laboratory demonstration. Advanced ion propulsion, autonomous navigation, and sample processing technologies move rapidly from research to mission deployment. NASA's technology adoption timeline averages much longer periods from laboratory proof of concept to operational deployment. This acceleration gap allows China to maintain technological leadership in rapidly evolving fields while competitors remain constrained by bureaucratic processes and risk-averse decision-making. Strategic positioning reveals China's focus on sustainable competitive advantages rather than symbolic achievements. The permanent far-side operations, comprehensive resource mapping, and international lunar research station development create long-term capabilities that persist beyond individual missions. NASA's Artemis program emphasizes crewed landings for symbolic impact, but lacks the systematic infrastructure development that enables sustained operations. China's approach builds operational capabilities that compound over time while competitors pursue prestige projects with limited strategic value. International partnerships present mixed results where traditional measures may be misleading. NASA's Artemis Accords include numerous signatory nations compared to China's formal partners for lunar research station development. However, China's partnerships involve concrete hardware contributions and technical cooperation rather than symbolic endorsements. Russia's participation through Roscosmos adds significant capabilities to China's coalition. The quality versus quantity dynamic favors China's approach, with partner nations contributing actual expertise rather than political support. Resource extraction capabilities show China maintaining decisive advantages in the areas that matter most for future space dominance. The successful far-side sample return, comprehensive helium-3 mapping, and water ice detection programs provide China with exclusive knowledge of lunar resources. NASA's resource assessment efforts remain limited to orbital surveys and theoretical analysis. China's detailed mapping includes subsurface analysis and extraction feasibility assessments that competitors cannot match without conducting similar comprehensive surveys. Manufacturing capabilities reveal China's vertical integration advantages over distributed development models. Chinese spacecraft components undergo extensive individual testing before integration compared to equivalent NASA components. The domestic manufacturing control extends to the vast majority of mission components versus much lower percentages for NASA's Artemis program. This vertical integration provides China with greater control over quality, costs, and delivery schedules while reducing dependency on international suppliers. However, certain areas show continued American advantages that could influence long-term competition outcomes. NASA maintains superior deep space exploration capabilities with successful missions to Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn that China has not yet matched. The commercial space sector in the United States provides innovation and cost reduction benefits that China's government-controlled approach cannot easily replicate. SpaceX's reusable rocket technology offers potential cost advantages that could challenge China's manufacturing efficiency benefits. The traditional measures of space power may be outdated when examining the current competition. Launch frequency, payload capacity, and crew transportation capabilities dominated previous space races, but may be less relevant in an era focused on resource extraction and permanent space presence. The new metrics emphasize operational sustainability, resource access, and strategic positioning rather than symbolic achievements or technological demonstrations. China's systematic approach differs fundamentally from the approaches of other nations by prioritizing long-term strategic advantages over short-term publicity gains. The methodical progression from automated missions to permanent installations follows proven development patterns that minimize technical risks. This conservative approach enables sustained progress towards strategic objectives while competitors pursue ambitious but complex system architectures that create multiple failure points. The sustainability of China's current advantages depends on continued commitment to space program funding and technological development. The centralized decision-making structure that currently provides advantages could become a limitation if government priorities shift or economic constraints affect space program support. However, the infrastructure investments and operational capabilities already established create competitive advantages that would persist even if development slowed. The next phase of competition will likely focus on permanent lunar presence and resource extraction capabilities rather than exploratory missions or symbolic achievements. The nation that establishes sustainable lunar operations first gains strategic advantages that compound over time through operational experience and resource access. This shift toward practical space utilization favors nations with systematic approaches to infrastructure development over those pursuing prestige projects. The comprehensive scorecard across mission success rates, cost efficiency, timeline execution, and strategic positioning reveals clear patterns in the current space competition. China's integrated approach to space development has created sustainable competitive advantages that extend beyond individual achievements into comprehensive capabilities for permanent space operations. While other nations maintain advantages in specific areas, the systematic approach to lunar exploration and resource development positions China uniquely for the challenges ahead. The question now becomes whether these advantages translate into lasting dominance or represent merely one phase in an evolving competition. These systematic advantages position China uniquely for the challenges ahead in lunar exploration and resource development. The evidence reveals China's comprehensive approach to space operations through flawless mission execution, cost efficiency, and strategic resource control that other nations cannot match. While NASA struggles with delays and budget overruns, China has achieved perfect mission success rates and established permanent lunar operations. The nation that controls lunar resources will determine humanity's energy future and space expansion capabilities for generations. This represents more than technological competition. China's space achievements are reshaping global power structures and creating new dependencies that challenge traditional alliances. The implications extend far beyond national prestige into fundamental questions about who controls the next phase